So very good day to you all. And today we are coming to the sixth session of research methodology course unit. And now we are at the end of your research proposal process. Now these are the last steps, right? We need to know about based on your research proposal preparing process. So today we are going to explain and guide you regarding the operationalization and the data collection instrument. Okay, so data collection instrument in the sense we guide you how to prepare questionnaire as well as interview guide. Okay, so this questionnaire or interview guide you need to prepare as a draft in your proposal, and you have to include that into your proposal as an annexation. Right, so it is a draft, so you can change it once you are doing your research study in your final year. Okay, so as usual, in order to get the more knowledge or to thorough your knowledge regarding this topic or this session, operationalization and questionnaire and interview guide design, you need to refer your recommended textbook, chapter 9, 11, and 12. Now, you might be see that in our previous sessions, we only refer one chapter. But in this case, since we discuss some broad aspect in your research proposal preparation process, you have to refer 3 chapters. Now, these 3 chapters are very simple and you can easily follow it, and you have more very practical examples on these relevant chapters. So refer them and enhance your knowledge relating to the operationalization and questionnaire and interview guide design. Okay, right. Let's move into the learning outcomes of the today's session. So it is basically I give priority for the operationalization because questionnaire designing I explain you through some examples, so then you can easily understand how you are going to prepare your questionnaire or interview guide. Right. So then in this lesson, you will be able to define the variables into measurable factors. Right. And after that, you can identify different levels of the measurement items or measurable terms. And you can evaluate different data sources, right? And whether you are going with the primary data collection or secondary data collection, etc. And you can design questionnaire and interview guide relevant to your research proposal. Right? So these are the main intentions of conducting this session. Right. So just glance what we discussed last week, because last week's session is very important to you, because that is the first step. We are going to plan how we are going to conduct our study. I told you research, we have 2 main things to decide. First, what we are going to do. Okay, so under the what we are going to do questions, you already decide what is your research problem, right? You justify there is a problem to search, and based on that you develop your problem statement and you develop your research questions or objectives. Right. So that is the first part of your research proposal. So we discussed that we will discuss that come in your practical sessions. Then you learn about your literature review. So now you are in a comfortable way to critically review the literature. Based on that critical review literature process, you identify relevant theoretical background of your research problem, and you identify the variables, right? We call them as a dependent, independent, mediating, and moderating variables. Or sometimes some student might be able to identify controlling variables. Okay, so then we develop your conceptual framework. right? Either you can follow the theoretical framework as it is for your conceptual framework, or by based on the empirical findings with your literature search, you can develop your conceptual framework. Then you develop the hypothesis. So that all part cover the main research component we call what we are going to do, right? What is our research about? That is the main part we discuss up to the conceptual framework. Okay. So next, what we discussed was how we are going to conduct such study, right? So what are our plans to implement the study? Now we have idea in our mind what we are going to do, what is the main purpose of our study. But having idea is not just enough, because research we need to implement it, right? We need to see what are the causes of our problem, what are the ways we can solve our problem, right? What are the benefits that others can get through our problem? Okay, so that's the next step of the research. Then we need to decide how we are going to conduct the study, right? So in order to decide how we are going to conduct the study, we discuss from the research approaches and research design. Okay, so in that way, I discuss with you what are the main research approaches. We discuss about the epistemology approach, epistemology philosophy, as well as ontology philosophy. But I told you that in the business research, we specifically focus on epistemology research philosophy. That is our base philosophical foundation. Under the epistemology, we have two research approaches we call inductive and deductive. Right? So inductive and deductive, again, we can see there are some sub-research approaches we call descriptive, exploratory, and explanatory. Right? I hope you remember what we discussed last session. Right? So if it is a descriptive, you just describe the situation. You just describe the problem. Example, the extent of adopting Facebook. The level of adopting Facebook. It only explains the audience what is the level of adopting Facebook by undergraduates. So it doesn't explain about what are the factors for adopting Facebook. Right? What are the consequences of adopting Facebook? It doesn't explain. It only explains the level of adopting the Facebook. That we call descriptive type of research. Right? If you are going with the exploratory means if the theoretical background or some literature, available literatures are silent based on your research problem, you need to search more relating to your problem by yourself. So that type of research study we call exploratory study, right? And the last one we call explanatory study. So what you explain the cause and effect relationship, right? So explanatory studies, we basically develop the hypothesis, right? If you have a conceptual framework and if you have developed hypotheses, those type of study we include under the explanatory study, right? So those are the basic research approaches. Right? So then we discuss about the research design. Actually, research design guide you how to collect data, how to measure data, and how to analyze data. Right? So based on that three aspects, we identify research design have three main components. Right? Three main components. First one is a research strategy. Right? The research strategy is the main methods we can follow to collect data. Right? So there are three main ways we can use as a method to collect data. We call experiment method. Right? That is basic, most probably using by the medical sciences and those physical sciences studies, right? Experiment, that means we develop artificial environment and we make experiment in there. right? We first effect the manipulate independent variable and find out whether those manipulated independent variables going to influence manipulately to the dependent variable, right? That is the we call artificial environment, right? Then we are moving to the actual practices, right? If you are developing some medical drugs and medical injection or something, so they use this experiment studies. But in a management discipline, it is very rare to see this kind of data collection method, right? So those are we call experimental type, the artificial environment develop and we collect data. But the survey methods are the most commonly used method for management studies, right? So survey method means we collect the data from large audience, right? Very heterogeneous characteristic audience, right? Then it is very easy for us to compare and contrast the characteristic of people based on the survey method data collection, right? And it gather more knowledge because you collect data with very broad area. Right? Your focus of the data collection area is very high. So then you are in a position to gather more data if you are using survey method. That's why the management discipline, most of the studies are using these survey methods. Right? Another one is a case study one. Case study means you specifically focus on some specific organization or business unit. Right? Either you can go with 1-2 business unit or organization and collect the data based on that specific area. Right? So when compare with the survey method, the case study method, the focusing areas are narrow, but you can do in-depth data collection. Because there's a case study method, your target audience are somewhat homogeneous. That means they are in a characteristic wise, they are same. Right? In somewhat they are same. So then you can collect more in-depth data if you are using case study method. So survey and case study methods are more common methods using the management discipline. Okay, right. Then we need to know about what is our unit of analysis. Right? Now we know the data collection method, and then we want to make sure that where we collect data, whom we collect data. Right? Either it may be an individual person or as an organization, we can collect their reports, right? Profit, sales unit or market share like that, right? So you need to decide whom we are collecting data. Okay, and our time horizon, whether we collect data just one time or whether we are going to collect data from 2 or more than 2 times or more than 1 times. Right? So based on that, we need to decide whether we are going with cross-sectional study or longitudinal study. But in the undergraduate level, we cannot see longitudinal studies because your time limit is very limited. So then most of that, actually, all of your studies are going with cross-sectional study. Then finally, you need to decide, am I going with the quantitative form data or am I going to collect qualitative form data? Right? So quantitative form data means you are collecting the data in the numeric forms. That means numbers, right? Like organization sales, organization profit, undergraduate GPA. Okay, so likewise, exam results. Then if you are going with the qualitative data, you collect data with respect to the word form. That means descriptive type data you are collecting if you are going with the qualitative type. Right? So qualitative type means you collect people's idea, people's opinion, why you like chocolate, right? Why you like this kind of brand of mobile phone, right? So normally if you are going with the qualitative data type, basically we are asking all the question with why, and how it influenced you, right? How you feel that the brand of that particular mobile phone. Likewise, you are asking how and why questions in qualitative form data collection. But if you are going with the quantitative one, you just ask them the questions related with the numeric answers. Right? Question related with numeric answers. We will see the examples at the end of the session, and you will get more knowledge regarding this quantitative form and qualitative form. Right. Then up to now, I just still summarize what we discussed because it's easy for you to gather more knowledge with the today's session, right? If you recall your memory related to the last 5 sessions effectively, then it will give benefit to understand today's session. That's why I spend few minutes at the end, at the beginning of each session to recall or refresh your memory regarding previous sessions, right? So then we come into that point with the how we are conducting study. So first step we need to do is we need to decide what is our research background. That means what is your approach, what are your strategies, right? What is your research design? Now you already complete that part. Now you have some idea about, are you going with inductive or deductive reasoning or approach? And if you are going with the exploratory study or explanatory study or descriptive study, and then whether you are going to collect data with the case study method approach or are you going with the survey method approach? Because experiment study we couldn't see in the management discipline, right? Then you need to decide whether I'm going with the cross-sectional data. That means whom I collect data, either individual perspective or organization perspective. Then I'm going with the cross-sectional data or longitudinal data. Data collection. And then finally you need to decide, am I going with the quantitative form or qualitative form, right? Now if I take my example, right, if I take our discussion example, environmental, citizenship, behavior and personality traits, right? So based on the literature, I identified 5 basic factors that could be influenced to the environmental, citizenship, behavior. Right, you might be remember that extraversion and openness to experiment, experience, and neutrism, consciousness, etc. Right. So then I identify those variables through rigor literature review. Right. Then I decide my research method. Right, my research approach coming with deductive approach. Why? Because I follow theoretical base and develop my tentative statement, so-called hypothesis, and I'm going to test it, right? Then you know my approach is deductive approach. So under the research strategy or under the deductive approach, I'm going with explanatory as well as descriptive study, right? So remember, you can use both, right? There is no hard and fast rule in research. I told you at the beginning. You can combine descriptive and explanatory. So why my study has that 2 approaches? Because first I describe the level of environmental citizenship behavior of undergraduates. That is one of my research objective. If you remember the example, our research introduction example, right? So I need to describe what is the level of undergraduates' environmental citizenship behavior, whether they are behave more responsible to the environment or whether they are behave less responsibility to the environment. Then I want to make sure that, then that part coming under the descriptive approach, right? Then I want to ensure that what personality traits influence to the environmental citizenship behavior. So I have 5 independent variables. So among that 5, I want to make sure that which give high influence and which give low influence with a significant value. Right? Then my study is applied explanatory approach because it is a cause and effect relationship. Right? Because of the personality trait, environmental citizenship behavior is going to be changed. That's what I'm tentatively state. Right? Then I prefer to go with survey method. Right? I prefer to go with survey method because I can use undergraduate, because undergraduate populations are very large. So I can gather large data through survey method. Right? If I select only one university, right, or if I select only one particular faculty, then I can apply case study method. Right? Case study means very narrowly, I narrow down my target audience and apply my research question into that audience. Right? But I prefer with the survey method. Likewise, you can decide whether you are going with the survey or case study method. Then under the time horizon, I'm going with the cross-sectional because I don't need to go with the longitudinal because I don't like to see the environmental citizenship behavior and personality trait with two different time periods. I just collect data at once, right? And I prefer with the quantitative form data, right? I like to collect numeric type of data. Okay. Now we decide that part. Now we decide. Those are our foundation in how we are going to conduct study question. Right. Now what we need to decide. Okay. Now what we need to decide is how we are going to collect data. That is our next most important question. Now we know we are going with survey method. Right now we know we're going with the survey method and we use cross-sectional method, unit and quantitative data. Now the most severe question now we are facing is how we are going to collect data. How am I gather data through undergraduate and how am I going to measure those variables? Right? So those are the very important questions that you need to answer. Right? Then first of all, we need to convert our variables or what we identified as earlier factors into the measurable terms. Right? Now I need to convert my environmental citizenship behavior variable into measurable term. I need to convert my big 5 personality trait model 5 factors like extraversion, consciousness, openness to experience into the measurable term. Right? What is this measurable term? What we so-called measurable term? Right? Now, very simple example. If I want to know about your academic performance, how I know it? Now, for an example, if I want to know about your academic performance, what sort of factors or what sort of things I want to look in order to make sure that you are performing well or not. Very simply, I'm going with your GPA or else I'm going with your exam results. Right? But GPA gives us an overall picture about your performance. Right? If you get the GPA close to 2 and 2.5, then we know that you moderately perform well. Right? You moderately perform well. But if you are getting your GPA less than 2, so what indicates to what? That means you need to improve your learning ability. You need to improve. Right? I'm not saying that students are not performing well, right? Because you are very talented students. Right? You come into this faculty with the highest Z score, with the management screen, and with the commerce screen. And therefore, you are not. We cannot say you are not talented. The only thing is there is some lacking in your learning ability. That's why you are getting the GPA less than 2. Right. So then if you are scoring the GPA more than 2 and close to 3, more than 3 and close to 3.7 and 3.8, then we know you are performing outstandingly. You are performing outstandingly. Right? So what is the base that I measure your GPA? I measure your academic performance. So that is a GPA. Right? So that's what we simply call, I convert the academic performance variable into the measurable terms by using your GPA. So then what is the GPA in the sense? So the GPA in the sense is the measurable term of the academic performance. Right? So then if I draw it in here, your GPA, right? Let's see, take the test, right? So your GPA is going to be the measurable term of academic performance. So you can see, it's very simple, right? So my variable is academic performance. So how I convert that into the measurable term? Using your GPA. Now, let's see another example as gender as a variable. Right? Now, in my model, gender as a moderating variable. Right? How you convert gender into the measurable terms? Right? How you see the gender of your audience? Okay, so how you convert it? It's very simple, right? You convert the gender as male and female, right? So most of the studies now use the other term, right? So in our cultural restriction, we are not very much keen to use this word, but we know that the society is consistent with male, female, and other type of gender, right? So it is not a shameful to say, but that is the biological effect, right? We respect to them. So that's why most of the questionnaire, if you are filling the recent questionnaire, so they are asking gender with the option of male, female, and other, right? So then you don't need to worry about that. Now, this is the way we converting the variables into the measurable term, right? Another way, let's see. You want to make sure the performance of the organization, right? Performance of the organization. So how we are going to convert the performance of the organization into measurable term? How we want to know, right, whether organization perform well or not, right? Either you can go with the profit margin, right? Or else you can go with the sales volume, right? Otherwise, you can go with the market share, right? So maybe some other things, right? Return of equity, return of assets, right? The net profit margin. Likewise, you have so many things to return on assets and return on equity, the net profit, right? Likewise, there are so many ways you can measure the so-called term performance of the organization. Okay, so these are very simple variables. Now, if I ask the question like this, right, how we are going to measure the satisfaction? How we are going to measure the satisfaction? If I'm asking about, are you satisfied with my lecture series? Right? If I'm asking about are you satisfied with my lecture series? How you answer my question? How you answer my question? How we are going to decide what is the meaning of satisfaction to you? Right? Then මම සරලව ඔයගොල්ලන්ගෙන් ඇහුවොත් මේ lecture series එක ගැන ඔයගොල්ලෝ satisfied? Right? මම නිකන් අහනවා මේ lecture series එක ගැන satisfied? කොහොමද ඔයගොල්ලෝ satisfy කියන එක දකින්නේ? Right? ඔයගොල්ලෝ කොහොමද satisfaction එක measure කරන්නේ? Okay? So this is the very critical point in research. Right? So not only the satisfaction, other one is a motivation also. Right? How you measure motivation? Right? How you know whether people are motivated or not? Right? So these are the questions we need to think in research. Right? Now, GPA, gender, performance of the organizations are very easy to measure. Right? Very easy to convert it into the measurable terms. But the item, the variable we so-called satisfaction, motivation, and employee retention, like that kind of things, right? So not that much easy to measure, right? So we need to have some kind of additional tactical knowledge to measure those things, right? So then we call them as the constructs. The satisfaction, motivation, we call them as a constructs. Right? Why? Because in order to measure that way, we need to find out another so-called dimensions to measure the satisfaction. Right? So let's discuss how we are going to measure them. Right? Now, I believe that you understand what is the meaning of converting the variable into measurable terms. So this is the thing we identify through operationalization. Those are the things we call operationalization. Right? So example, you also see what we discussed previous session, previous slide. Right? So operationalization means the way we are going to define variable into measurable terms or measurable factors. Right? So it will define and measure a specific variable as it is used in your study. Okay, so that's why I told, if I want to measure academic performance, the academic performance is my variable. Right? Yeah, now you know what is the meaning of variable also. Right? So academic performance is my variable. So that variable I need to convert it into the measurable way. So how I measure it? Using the GPA. Right? Your grade point average become my measurable terms in the variable of academic performance. Right? So that sort of measurements, right, like GPA, like sales of organization, the profit margin, okay, so that sort of measurable items or measurable terms we can identify through 4 levels, right, like GPA, sales volume, that we call satisfaction measurements, right? So we identify them at a different levels. We have basically 4 levels, right? So that we call levels of measurements. Those 4 levels we call levels of measurements, right? So let's see what are those 4 levels. First we call nominal scale. Second one we call ordinal scale. Third we call interval scale. And finally we call ratio scale. Right? So these are the basic levels we use in research studies. Those are the 4 levels that we can use to convert variables into measurable terms. Right? Let's start from your, first we start with the easiest way. First one, we take up a variable as academic performance. Okay, so I started with the simple one. Right, now academic performance, we know our measurable level is GPA. Okay, now what is this GPA? You know, it is a numeric number, right? Some people get the GPA. Let's say your GPA is 3.31. Right? Now, what is this 3.31? Right? That is exact number. That is exact number. Right? Now, another example. I need your age. I need your age. Right? So, how can I take it? Either I can ask your date of birth or simply I can ask your age. I can ask the question, how old are you? Then I know your age. So you said your age is 24 or 5. I don't know what is your age. Right? You said 24. So what is that 24? That is the exact value of the age. Right? That is the exact value. So if we can able to take that sort of exact values, we call that type of measurements, as ratio scale. Right? So we call them as ratio scale. Sorry, ratio scale. So then what is the ratio scale? So ratio scale means we can get the exact points of our variables. Right? Like the price of the good. Right? Like the weight of the person, height of the person, Okay, and sales volume and profit margin. All of them are given you the exact figures. Right? So then that type of thing we call ratio scale. So the description, it says ratio scale measures the magnitude of the difference between points on the scale, but also taps the proportions in the differences. Right? So ratio scale means if we can get the exact value of that measurements, we so-called ratio scale. Right? And now we know variables are different, no? Right? So one student GPA is, now I'm taking another example. First student, right? First student GPA is equal 3.31, right? Then the second student GPA equal, we call 3.87, right? And third student GPA equal, we call 2.14. Right? Now we collect data from 3 students regarding their academic performance. We measure academic performance using GPA. Then we identify 3 different GPA of that our 3 students. Now by looking at these 3 GPA levels, right, or our ratio scale items, what can you say about these 3 students? What can you say? Right? When you compare with the third student and second student, what is your conclusion? What is your conclusion? When compare with the third student, the second student perform well, isn't it? Because the third student GPA is 2.1714 and the second student GPA is more than that. Right? So then we can conclude that the second student is the best one. Right? How we identify it? Because of the differences between the points. Right? Now you see the differences between the points. Okay? These are the differences. Right? Then when compared with the second student and the first student, still we say second student performed well. Right? Then we can also conclude that among these 3 students, third student's learning capacity is relatively low. Right? So this is what is the importance of having ratio scale. Why? We can easily identify the magnitude of the differences between different responses, different respondents. Right? And those differences having the meaningful explanation. Those differences having meaningful explanation. Right? So that is the importance of having ratio scale measurements. Right? So I believe that you understand the meaning of ratio scale measurement. Right? Then look at what is the interval scale. What is the interval scale? Right? Now, if you fill some questionnaires, right? If you have a chance to fill, or if you have some experience of filling some questionnaires, so there will be asked the question, right? The state your opinion or your agreement to the following statement. You might be asked this kind of question, right? Following statements using 1 to 5 scale. Right? You might be having this kind of experience when you are filling the questionnaire. Right? So 1 to 5 scale means 1 mean strongly disagree. Right? 2 mean disagree. 3 mean neutral. That means I neither agree nor disagree. Right? And 4 mean agree. And 5 indicates strongly agree. Right? Then you are getting the statement. Your statement says, now example, right? Statement says, I like chocolate because of, oh no, we said chocolate taste chocolate taste no, we say something like this, I prefer to the taste of chocolate. Right? Now it's a statement. It asks, I prefer to taste of chocolate. Right? If you like the chocolate because of its taste, right? Because of its taste, you say you strongly agree with it. Now that is your point, right? Now you ask to state your agreement to the following statement using 1 to 5 scale. Now statements say, I prefer to the taste of chocolate. Right? If you like the chocolate because of its taste, right? So you say, I'm strongly agree. Or sometimes you might be say, yes, I agree, but not that much strong. That indicate you like chocolate, not only the taste, but maybe some other reasons. Right? But maybe the nutrition factor. Right? So then you might be asked another question. I prefer the nutrition of the chocolate. Right? Then you say, yes, I'm strongly agree. That means compare with the taste. You like chocolate with the nutrition. Right? Now you get the chance to state your opinion. Right? This is your opinion, right? These are your ideas. State your opinion according to the scale. According to the scale. Right? We call this type of measurement methods as interval scale. We call it interval scale. Right? We call them as an interval scale. Right? So interval scale used to compare the differences between objects. So it used to compare the difference between objects. Now, when I compare with my first statement to the second statement, right? If I compare with my first statement to the second statement, so first statement I got agree opinion. For the second statement, I got strongly agree opinion. Right? So then might be you ask, I prefer chocolate. I prefer, I can afford the price of chocolate. Right? Then I again ask the statement, I can afford the price of chocolate. So if I feel that the chocolate prices are unfair in Sri Lankan market, right, then I say I strongly disagree with this statement. I strongly disagree. Right? So based on the three statement, I can measure or I can get the idea about the consumer's preferences, choices of the chocolate. Right? When compare with this three statement, I can see that person, in myself, I prefer chocolate, basically the nutrition. That is my most important point to prefer the chocolate. Right? Then the next one is the taste. Right? But when I compare with the price, when I come to the price component, so then I strongly disagree. That means, so my chocolate preference might be getting low due to the price of the chocolate. Now you see, if I want to make sure that the factors influencing to buy chocolate, right, the nutrition become the most influencing factor in according to my rating, right, my scaling. and the next one is a taste. But when it comes to the pricing component, the price becomes disadvantage. The price becomes some limited factor to the preference of chocolate. Right? Now, if you are trying to measure some sort of variables using this kind of statements and the 1 to 5 or 1 to 7 scale, we call them as interval scale. Right? Normally scales are coming with the 1 to 5 scale, that is most common one, and there might be 1 to 7 scale, right? So here with the strongly disagree, then you can say 2 as a slightly disagree, right? Then disagree, then neutral, then it should be 3, right? Then neutral is a 4, and agree is a 5, okay? And then 6 goes to slightly agree, and the 7 1 goes to strongly agree. So likewise, you can develop 1 to 5 scale, 1 to 7 scale, 1 to 9 scale, right? But the majority of the undergraduate normally prefer with 1 to 5 scale, right? So that's the normal practice among undergraduates. So likewise, if you are using this type of scaling, right? This type of scaling, we call them as interval scale. Right? Now remember this, okay? Now, the difference between these scales, like what we discussed ratio, but the difference among ratios, we give the meaningful explanation. But the difference among these scales doesn't give you that much of meaningful things. Right? Now, for an example, so one indicates strongly disagree. So 2 indicates slightly disagree. Right? So difference between 1 to 2 is 1. Right? So then you cannot say that the person with strongly disagree to slightly disagree, the difference is 1. No, we cannot say like that. Right? That difference doesn't have a practical meaning. But in order to measure the agreements or satisfaction of the people, we develop these scales. But the difference among that scales, right, or different between that scales doesn't meaning you in a practical way. Remember that that is a main difference between interval scale and ratio scale. Right? Remember that point. Okay. So other one we call ordinal scale. Right? What is that order? What is the order mean to you? Right? Now take another example. Right? I listed the soft drink options to you. I listed soft drink option, like I said, Coca-Cola, one Pepsi, sorry, and I said Fanta, what I remember, right? And I said fruit juice, right? Fruit drink, and what else? Maybe what else we have? And ginger beer, right? Something like that. Now I'm asking you, based on your taste preference, right? Based on your soft drink preference, rank them with the highest preference to lowest preference. Rank them with the highest preference to lowest preference, right? So what you can see, so I say I like ginger beer, so I mostly like ginger beer when compared to the other things, so I rank it as a 1. Then I like Fanta as my second preference, and I like soft drink as my third preference, and I like Pepsi as my 4th preference, and again I like Lastly, I like Coca-Cola as my last preference with the available soft drink options. What am I doing? I'm ranking the available soft drink option according to my taste preference. Right? Then I'm asking, then you might be asked another person to rank it. So that person might be ranked. Right? So that person might be ranked might be 4 for Coca-Cola, right? 1 for Fanta, and 3 for Pepsi, and soft drink for 2, and what is the 1, 2, 3, 4, and ginger beer as a 5. Okay, so these are the differences, right? So people taste are different, right? So my choices differ with your choices, right? So likewise, if we ask them to rank their preferences like this, right? So we identify them as ordinal scale, right? We identify them as ordinal scale. Or else we can ask the question, right? The education level. Right? We can ask the question, education level. We say primary, right? Then secondary, right? Then we said higher education or tertiary, right? And we can say postgraduate, right? Or we can give the other option called other, right? So what is this? We rank the education level and ask them to choose what's the most available rank to them. If you are complete your higher education, you tick for this, right? If you complete your postgraduate, you tick for this, right? If you only complete your secondary education, you tick for this, right? So highest education level, if someone asks, right? Highest education level. So you select the available options according to your answer, right? So that also we call ordinal scale type. Ordinal scale type, right? So that's the way we can identify the ordinal scale data, right? Then our last one we call nominal data. Last one we call nominal data. What is a nominal? What is a nominal? Nominal in the sense, if you are using some sort of variable to categorize purpose, right? Now for an example, gender, right? How many categories we have for gender? We have male, we have female, and we have other, right? So our variable is gender. In order to measure the gender, we have 3 options. So based on that 3 options, we can categorize our responses as this much of male and this much of female and this much of other component, right? So that is we call nominal scale data, right? That is we call nominal scale data, right? Or else we can ask the question like the occupation, right? Occupation, it's asked maybe executive manager, or top manager, right? And maybe the senior manager, I'm not sure, right? This order might be changed, right? And office staff. Likewise, you give the options, right? You give the option and ask your respondent or responses to select the most appropriate thing, right? So here we don't have any order. We don't have any order, but we ask them to categorize. We use this to categorize our responses. Other than that, there is no any other options. We just only categorize, right? So that type of measurement we call nominal scale. right? We call nominal scale, right? So these are the things we identify through the level of measurements, right? So then you need to decide your variables and you need to understand about how am I going to convert my variable into measurable factors, right? When you decide in that measurable factors, you need to make sure that whether you are going with the nominal scale type measurement, ordinal scale type measurement, interval scale type measurement, or ratio scale type measurements, right? Now remember, if you are going with the ratio scale, you get the exact points, right? You get the exact points. Because of you are getting exact point, you will be able to measure the means. We know we can calculate the average, right? If you get the GPA of 50 students, then you calculate it and get the average, and you can see the average of the GPA of this class is close to 3. Right? Then you can make a conclusion that the class having some kind of moderately perform well. We get the mean, right? And because of having mean, we can have the standard deviation also. Right? Then we can make sure that how far the mean values are differ with the actual values. Right? Then if you are going with the interval scales, we rank the statements or preference of the people using 1 to 5 scale, 1 to 7 scale, or 1 to 9 scale. Even we are using this scale, right? Again, we can get the mean values, right? If we get the average of the person's agreements, like 4, 5, 3, 2, 1, right? So for an example, suppose that we give the statement and ask 50 students to scale it, right? So when we get the 50 student scale value as average, then we get the value as 4, right? We get the value as 4. So 4 in the sense agree in our based on our 1 to 5 scale. So then we can say when considering the average opinion of the students of this class, right? They agree with the chocolate preference because of the taste, right? So likewise, again in the interval scale values, you can calculate mean and standard deviation, right? For the ordinal scale, what is your idea? So ordinal scale, we rank, right? We rank our choices with the soft tree, right? Can you get the mean value for that? Now for an example, our soft drink example, I rank 1 for the ginger beer, right? And 5 to the Coca-Cola. Can you get the mean value of that rank? 1 to 5 rank? You can get, but the mean is meaningless, right? So if you are using the ordinal scale type data, only thing you can say is this much of person prefer ginger beer as their first choice, right? Then you can calculate 1 count for a ginger beer, right? අපි ginger beer වලට එක දාලා තියෙන count ටික count කරලා අපි කියනවා අපි කියමු 50 දෙනෙක්ගෙන් 20 දෙනෙක්ම කියනවා ginger beer එකට first they prefer the ginger beer when compared to the others as a first choice. ඒතකොට අපේ conclusion එක මොකක්ද? majority එක ginger beer තමයි mostly preferable soft drink එක විදියට consider කරන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ අපි කියනවා Coca-Cola වලට තියෙනවා අංක 2කට එහෙම නැත්නම් අංක 1ට 15ක්. අංක 1 choice කරලා තිනවා 15 දෙනෙක්. එතකොට අපි මොකද්ද conclusion එක? ginger beer වලින් පස්සේ ගොඩක් අය කැමති Coca-Cola වලට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ most preferred soft drink එක විදිහට. right? ඊට පස්සේ අපි දකිනවා 5. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි කියන්නේ අඩුම preference එකනේ. 5 කියන එක ගහලා තිනවා Fanta වලට 35 දෙනෙක්. right? 5 කියන එක ගහලා තිනවා Fanta වලට 35 දෙනෙක්. ඒතර මොකද ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ conclusion එක? Majority of class majority of students least prefer the Fanta as their soft drink. So වැඩි දෙනෙක් soft drink එකක් විදිහට Fanta වලට වැඩි කැමැත්තක් නැහැ. Right? So this is the way you can take the ordinal scale scale explanation. So we call them as mode. Mode right? And the nominal scale. Right? Nominal scale. You again measure gender as male and female. Right? Can you calculate the mean value for that? Now, for an example, you say gender. Right? You measure gender, you say male, and you ask audience or you ask your respondent to if you are a male, put it as number 1. Right? If you female, put it as number 2. Right? So male and female. Now you have count. අපි ළමයි 50ක් අරගෙන ඔයගොල්ලෝ කවුන්ට් කරනවා. මේල්ලා මෙච්චරයි ෆීමේල්ලා ගහලා තියෙනවා. මේල්ලා නම් 1, ෆීමේල්ලා නම් 2. දැන් ওই 50 එකතු කරලා අපි කැල්කියුලේට් කරලා ගන්නවා ඇවරේජ් එක. right අපිට එනවා එතකොට ඇවරේජ් එක උතන එන්න පුළුවන් උපරිම එන්න පුළුවන් 1.5 නේ. උපරිම අපි දල වශයෙන් ගත්තොත් 1.5. So what is the meaning? What is the meaning? මේ පන්තියේ 100 අපි කියමු ළමයි 50 දෙනෙක්ගෙන් average එක ගත්තොත් ගොඩක් අය male and female දෙකම combination එකක්. ඒක නේද එතකොට එන්නේ 1.5 කියන එකකින්. ඒ කියන්නේ පිරිමිත් දෙමේ ගෑනිත් දෙමේ සෙට් එකක් තමයි ඉන්නේ කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. Is it meaningless? Is it the meaning? No. So then there is no meaning of calculating mean value for the nominal scale. The only thing we can do is for the nominal scale, we can say how many males are there in the class, right? We can say there are 35 male, and for the how many females, we can say there are 15 female. We call mode. Right? So that's the thing we can calculate from nominal scale. So as a summary, nominal scale, nominal and ordinal scale, we can use the mode calculation. For the interval and ratio scale, we can calculate mean and standard deviation one. Right? So I believe that you are familiarized with the levels of measurements. Then after finalizing your measurements, now you are in a position to develop your questionnaire. So we will discuss that part in the next session.